Hi and welcome. I'm Caroline Best of the Tao of Horsemanship. This course is called Starting the Young Horse. And starting the young horse holistically and developing their foundation on the ground to prepare for your first ride. Standing next to me is Susie. Susie's a 2-year-old thoroughbred filly. She is the main star of this course, and you're going to be witnessing her progression every day of her training for the first 30 days. Now, in my methodology, when horses come to me or used to come to me for training, I would only work with them 20 of the 30 days. So that would be basically 4 weeks out of the month, Monday through Friday. And often, especially with young horses and or traumatized horses, restarting horses, they will get many days off in a row and even a week or two off, depending on where they are in their learning. And when you give a horse time off, it does so much good. And that's one of the points that I mention in this course. In my training method, and especially in this young horse course, that I want to impress upon you. So while Susie's 2 years old, and I do have my first ride on her, this is not a riding course. It's not about riding at this age, and it shouldn't be. Most of you should already know that it takes 7 years for the horse's spine to fully develop, not fuse, but fully grow. And that's with all breeds of horses. It takes at least 7 years, a good 7 years. Well, so does the rest of their body, all of their other bones and ligaments and tendons and muscles. And so while you're looking at Susie at the age of 2, and she's at least 15-1 right now, she's very downhill, and she has a lot more growing to do. And not just in height, she's already a pretty well-built thoroughbred, very stocky, similar to a quarter horse in conformation and in build, but she's still gonna fill out a lot more. And so if you were to start riding this young horse, which would be wrong, don't agree with that at all, you can start your first rides, but you should not be putting a young horse, any breed, at the age of 2 into a riding program. So much of her mental state and her physical state is going to grow and develop and mature from the age of 2 to the age of 4. Tremendously. Not to mention, she's just gonna start to really fill out physically. And I want to always maintain the soundness and the longevity of my horse. And so that means you don't start training them physically by running them around and developing a lot of strength, so to speak, in the round pen specifically at the age of 2. You don't want to do that. I also follow the great masters from Tom and Bill Dorrance to Nuno Oliveira, the great dressage master. And while they're no longer alive, we have a lot of books and reading materials passed down from them, and that's what I've studied. And especially in classical dressage, you do not begin a young horse's education until the age of 4. And even then, it's slow and it's all on the ground and in hand. It has nothing to do with riding. So a lot of the great masters really appreciated that, and so do I. And they took the time that it took and it takes to get to know the horse, to understand the horse, so that when the horse began their learning, their training, their education, they could find the easiest way possible for that horse to learn. So unfortunately today, in so many different disciplines and training, especially young horses, there's so much fighting going on and making and forcing. And no one takes the time to get to know the horse and figure out how that horse, as your student, needs to learn. And to me, that's what makes a great teacher. In my personal experiences, being a student, always a student, but even as a young child, who are the teachers that I remember the most? And I ask you to do the same. You remember the teachers that took their time to make sure you understood what was going on and took the time to make you feel included, possibly even special here and there when you answered something correctly, or at least you tried and you worked really hard and you showed great effort. So those types of teachers built your confidence, didn't they? And that's what this is really all about. And it should be with horse training, period, but especially in our young horses. So often, unbeknownst to their owners and handlers, they are robbed of that level of confidence. And I say unbeknown because I've met so many horse owners, including the owner, the previous owner of Susie, who did not purposely try to do any harm to this horse. But when this horse came to me, she had some negative learned behaviors from being handled and not being well understood. And so in the premium course, the full course of starting your young horse holistically and developing a foundation and a riding, preparing your horse for riding, you're going to see Susie. Susie's the #1 horse in this course out of 3. And you're going to see me work with her 20 days out of 30. Doesn't mean she's not handled every day the same way, so that she learns to adopt new ways of acting and behavior when she's led, when she's sent into her stall, around food, bathing, grooming. But her main learning is only Monday through Friday. And so that comes to about 4 weeks out of a month, 20 days. So they have at least 2 days off to decompress, process, and digest what they've been learning. Because Susie came with some negative learned behaviors, I spent at least 10 days working to peel away at those learned behaviors and create new positive ones. So you'll see it in the free course. You're going to see Susie, the snippets that we've taken from the long lessons. You're going to see the before and after of how she struggled with being head shy, severely, and how she struggled with being in the round pen. She couldn't be free in here because she would just take off. And then if you went to gently stop her, get in her way, she would change direction abruptly facing the round pen panel, and she just had so much fear. And you'll see how I explain all of that. I help to teach you how to read the horses and better understand them, and then you're learning my step-by-step exercises, not step-by-step, but you're learning my exercises, the certain techniques and approaches that I use in a specific exercise to help a horse like her, which there's so many out there. She came with 2 very common, unfortunately, common challenges or learned behaviors that I've seen in young horses, unfortunately. Too many of them are hit and smacked in the face. It only takes one time. You're not teaching them anything but to fear you. You're not teaching them is the bottom line. You're not educating the horse. You must teach the horse how to respect your space. If you're afraid of getting run over or kicked, you must teach them. So there wasn't any teaching going on, and this happens, and then the horse gets hit and then learns to be afraid of this. And then, of course, round penning, and this young horse was up for sale, so it was really important that the owner show some video of the horse's movement. But you're going to learn about this horse and lots of different temperaments and personalities and learned behaviors and how to best work with the horses using my approach in this course. So the purpose of the course is, again, how to work holistically with these young guys and develop the foundation. And the foundation has everything to do with trust, relationship, confidence in your young horse, attitude, mindset, cooperation. You want to develop a horse that if they have challenges like she did, that you learn how to work through them appropriately and safely on the ground before you get on, because I don't want to ride that. One, I don't want to ride it because it's so terrorizing for the horse. And number 2, there's no need to. And number 3, your safety comes first. She's only 2. So in the premium course, you all are going to, again, be witnessing the evolution of 3 young horses. You're going to see the young Friesian that comes to me for a week, 5 days. And you'll see specifically how I work with his owner on how to address all the common challenges that you have when teaching a young horse, from picking up their feet to grooming. He just got cut, so he's a little preoccupied. Could be very similar to your young filly that comes into heat, that's overly marish and hormonal. You know, how do you get these young horses to refocus back on you? And for the young horse to learn all the necessary steps and exercises that have everything to do with leading, sending, beginning your round pen at a nice free walk, a nice relaxed free walk. You're also going to learn how to socialize a little bit and what to do with horses that might be a little hormonal or buddy sour. And then you have my baby Blue. You've got a couple of different segments of him as he's growing here. And I talk about how I don't work with him every day, but he gets handled a certain way. He has, I'm always, so to speak, not working with him, but handling him and being with him on a daily basis and reminding him how to act, and I'm very consistent. So there's a lot of great information for all of you if you have the horses in your backyard, if you're a breeder and you want to start learning how to develop these young horses so that they're easier to sell at the age of 2. And that does not include riding, but it includes all their wonderful ground manners, the ability to tie, stand still at liberty, ground tie for bathing. What do you do when they're scared of the fly spray, water? How do you teach them to just stand here quietly? This is not a technique, this is the relationship. So we talk a lot about the relationship and how important that is to your training. It's number 1, you guys. Number 1, because that's what develops the horse's level of confidence and trust in you to feel safe enough to learn. Number 1 is a relationship. Makes everything easier, especially with our young horses. So it's a very different perspective than traditional or conventional starting, horse starting, and most specifically, it's a holistic approach. So we are going to be dealing with the horse's emotions, their emotional agility, how they feel. Oh, I love this. We're going to be dealing with the spiritual aspects of horsemanship, the spirituality of it, what that means to you and your horse. We're going to be dealing with her mental cognition and developing the mind of the horse so that the horse becomes a better thinker. And when a horse is thinking, they are not reacting. So we're developing that very much so, the left brain of the horse. And we're also beginning to develop the physical. The physical is not that big of a deal because they're so young. There's a lot of great information for all of you if you have the horses in your backyard, if you're a breeder and you want to start learning how to develop these young horses so that they're easier to sell at the age of 2. And that does not include riding, but it includes all their wonderful ground manners, the ability to tie, stand still at liberty, ground tie for bathing. What do you do when they're scared of the fly spray, water? How do you teach them to just stand here quietly? This is not a technique, this is the relationship. So we talk a lot about the relationship and how important that is to your training. It's number 1, you guys. Number 1, because that's what develops the horse's level of confidence and trust in you to feel safe enough to learn. Number 1 is a relationship. Makes everything easier. So I hope you enjoy, and I look forward to your comments. Thank you, and may you always be one with your horse.